It's my wedding who works for a major contractor. Subcontractors don't belong here. Please leave quickly.
What? I was stunned into silence when I heard this unexpected statement from the bride, Emily, who was the star of today's wedding. You wouldn't expect to be told to leave in the middle of a wedding ceremony. But right after that, I heard a low voice beside me.
So that's your conclusion, Emily? Then we'll all be leaving.
My dad, Sam, who was standing next to me, shot a stern look at Emily and signaled to the guests. As a result, Emily lost everything in an instant. My name is Tom Miller. I'm 35 years old this year. I've been running the construction company I inherited from my dad, Sam, for 3 years. I'm working hard every day to make our company loved by the locals. While learning management know-how and how to deal with clients from my dad, the former president, I've been diligently working. As a young second-generation president, I've faced various challenges. But thanks to my reliable dad and employees, I've overcome each one and recently found my own way of doing things. I want to continue growing the company and myself at this pace. Just as I was thinking that, this incident happened. One day, I tilted my head in confusion as I held the wedding invitation I received. The sender was Emily Williams, the head of a major client company. She is a female head of department in her 30s, an elite who graduated from a famous university and is climbing the career ladder. However, she has a high pride in her high academic background and judges others based on their education. She is a troublesome person who looks down on me, who started working at my dad's company right after graduating from high school as a subcontractor with just a high school diploma. That's why I didn't expect her to invite me to her wedding, since she always looked down on me. It's understandable that Dad was invited as the former president, but why me too?
Well, you are the president now. Maybe Emily finally recognized you.
Convinced by my dad, I changed my mindset. I don't know Emily's true intentions, but she went out of her way to invite me. I replied as attending and waited for the wedding day. And then, on Emily's wedding day, given her position as the head of a major construction company, a rather large venue was prepared. Her partner is said to be a young elite from a client company, and there are many guests on the groom's side. From work-related clients to acquaintances in the political and business world, the number of attendees must be at least 300. The bustling celebration was crowded with people, and it was difficult to find my name on the seating chart handed to me at the reception. After finally being guided to my seat, I settled down with my dad. The wedding, which started after a while, was grand and splendid, fitting for the head of a major company, and we were awestruck. When the bride and groom started going around to each table and approached our seats, there was suddenly a surprised scream, followed by a voice that looked down on people, which was inappropriate for the occasion. My dad and I turned around simultaneously.
Oh, is that you, Tom? What are you doing here today?
The person who spoke to me was the bride of the day, Emily. Dressed in a pure white dress and beautifully made up, she looked lovely, but once she opened her mouth, her usual sarcasm came out. It seems she intends to harass me, the subcontractor, even at this happy occasion. Congratulations on your wedding. Thank you for inviting me today.
Oh, did I invite you?
Her feigned ignorance made me inwardly annoyed. but Emily seemed genuinely surprised by my appearance and had a blank look on her face. Yes, I notified my attendants and received the invitation.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry, it must have been a mistake that you received one.
Emily, mocking me as I showed her the invitation, snorted derisively. Then, folding her arms arrogantly, she declared,
It was a mistake to invite you, Tom. Could you please leave?
"Leave? What do you mean by that?" Not understanding what she was trying to say, I frowned in confusion. Then Emily, with an unpleasant smile on her lips, started laughing so hard her wedding dress shook.
It's my wedding who works for a major contractor. Subcontractors don't belong here. Please leave quickly.
What? I was stunned into silence when I heard this unexpected statement. You wouldn't expect to be told to leave in the middle of a wedding ceremony. But Emily pointed at my shocked face and laughed, throwing even more cruel words at me.
Today, we are honored to have many executives from the company and important clients attending. They're all elites with status and education.
With that declaration, Emily looked around the venue. Many of the guests, enjoying their meals and conversations, were dressed in expensive suits and wore luxury watches.
Compared to them, you're just a subcontractor, right? I only want to congratulate the important people, so you can leave now.
That's how you see things. I wanted to congratulate you, but that's unfortunate. I couldn't help but voice my frustration. No matter how much I was looked down on as a subcontractor or told that I was only given work out of pity, I endured it because they were important business partners. That's why I came today, sincerely wanting to celebrate Emily's happiness. But it seems she never understood my feelings at all. In the end, this is how she truly feels. Just as I understood that, I heard a low voice beside me.
So that's your conclusion, Emily.
Dad. My dad, Sam, who was sitting next to me, quietly seethed with anger. Emily, who had been riding high, now showed a hint of panic at my dad's intensity.
Is that a problem? Just like with work, I choose who to invite to my wedding. It's only natural for insignificant subcontractors like you to decline the invitation on your own.
I see. We've been humiliated enough. We'll all be leaving now.
With that, my dad stood up abruptly and called out to the surroundings.
Everyone, we're leaving.
Immediately, guests around our table started to stand up one after another. Emily, watching people leave as if a wave was receding, gaped in disbelief, her mouth opening and closing wordlessly. But regaining her composure, she called out to the guests.
Wait a moment, what are you all doing?
Can't you see? Everyone is leaving. When I answered instead of the guests, Emily pouted in anger.
Don't mess with me. This is my wedding.
Maybe people don't think it's worth attending. As if to confirm my words, people continued to leave, and half the seats were already empty. Seeing this, Emily started to scream, running her hands through her hair.
This is impossible. I'm a company executive. For clients and even our own people to leave without reason is outrageous.
She shouted, trying to stop a passing guest. But that person, annoyed, shook off her arm and headed straight for the exit. Looking around the hall as people dwindled away like the receding tide, Emily finally began to cry and got angry.
Why are you being so mean to me? What did I do?
Everyone heard what you said earlier, Emily.
The one who answered was my dad, who was already prepared to leave. While greeting other guests with a smile, he pointed out the truth to Emily.
Everyone heard your words about subcontractors needing to leave. They're just following your instructions. Is there a problem?
I was talking to you too. Why did everyone else hear it?
Emily, now crying out of anger, had her makeup completely ruined, making her face look disastrous. But stepping forward, I calmly pointed to her side. There stood her groom, Mike, holding a microphone. The mic for the greetings was still on. Thanks to that, everyone in the venue heard everything you said.
What? No way.
Emily turned pale and checked the microphone's power. She looked extremely flustered. The fact that she was this panicked indicated that she understood how inappropriate her words were to us. The next target of her anger was the groom, Mike.
Why did you leave the mic on? Because of you, our guests are leaving.
What's wrong with keeping the mic on to thank our guests for coming? What's worse is the way you spoke to Tom and his dad.
Mike, who seemed like a kind person, was clearly shocked by Emily's outburst. With a sad expression, he raised his voice, trying to reason with her.
Do you even know how much respect Sam, the former president, commands?
Huh? He's just the president of a subcontractor company, right? How ungrateful of him to act like this towards someone who gives him work.
Emily, looking around the now mostly empty hall, glared at my dad with resentment. But my dad met her gaze head-on and laughed heartily.
Well, you're only interested in paperwork. I dealt with your junior colleagues when I was active, so you probably don't know anything.
What does that mean?
Emily finally felt something was wrong with my dad's confident attitude. As she looked around nervously, her eyes darting about, Mike calmly explained.
Show some respect. This man has led the local construction industry for 40 years.
Him? This ordinary old man? You must be joking.
Emily refused to believe it, pointing at my dad and laughing loudly. But everyone around her watched her behavior without even a hint of a smile. Noticing the strange atmosphere, her laughter faded.
Stop joking. Even if he's influential locally, he's still just a subcontractor, right? To us, subcontractors are insignificant.
Do you even know what you're talking about? Even I, who doesn't deal directly with his company, know the name Sam Miller.
Seeing Mike finally start to get angry, a vein throbbing on his forehead, Emily began to realize she was at a disadvantage. She looked back and forth between my dad and me, forcing a strained smile.
What? No, this can't be true. Even if he's the president, we're the ones giving him work.
Clearly, Emily didn't understand the situation. In front of me, as I sighed involuntarily, Mike raised his voice.
Sam is very well known locally. He plays a key role in the construction industry by supplying the workforce. Without him, we wouldn't have the manpower to build even a single house.
No way.
Emily tried to laugh it off, but she quickly froze in shock. Everyone in the room was glaring at her with serious expressions. Realizing this, she began to look around nervously, her eyes darting about. Mike, watching her calmly, continued speaking.
Do you think I'm lying? Why would I, the groom, lie to you about this?
But Tom's company is a subcontractor of ours. I'm the one in charge, so I have the higher status, right?
Emily, despite her panic, turned a defiant gaze towards my dad and me, trying to stand her ground. Her inability to grasp her position was no longer angering. It was simply pitiable. As I watched silently, my dad spoke slowly.
You don't have to believe me. I just do my job. That being said, we've had a good relationship with your company for decades, but times have certainly changed.
That calm demeanor. Is he really that important? More important than me, a department head at a major national construction company?
Emily, sweating, looked to Mike for reassurance. When he nodded quietly, she finally broke into a cold sweat. Not caring that her wedding dress was wrinkling, she grabbed her skirt with both hands and continued making excuses in an irritated manner.
I just didn't know. If I knew he was that important, I would have spoken differently.
My status is irrelevant. This is your wedding, not a place to discuss business hierarchies.
My dad, clearly fed up, addressed Emily. I felt the same. Even after all this, she didn't understand what she had done wrong. If she had just apologized, we could have found a way to resolve this, but it seemed impossible now. Having completely lost face, Emily was surely distressed. At least, that's what I expected, but to my surprise, she wore a confident smile. Whatever she interpreted from my dad's words, she suddenly seemed invigorated. She wiped the sweat from her forehead with her white bridal gloves and began to defiantly justify herself.
That's right. If it were a work-related comment, it would be one thing, but this is my wedding. It's completely private. No matter how important you are, it's rude to disrupt my wedding.
Did you forget how persistently you emphasized the hierarchy between companies earlier? It was you who brought work relations into this private event first. Unable to hold back any longer, I retorted. I thought I might have spoken out of turn, but it turned out to be unnecessary worry. Everyone around us was thoroughly fed up with Emily's self-centered remarks. Even Emily seemed to realize that I had a point and hesitated for a moment. But instead of reflecting, she desperately tried to continue her excuses.
That's not what I meant. I just got carried away because my wedding was being ruined. You understand, right?
It's truly unfortunate that your wedding turned out like this. We were formally invited and came here to sincerely celebrate your marriage. Yet, you told us to leave. Emily blushed again and retorted to me.
I thought it would be better for you to leave because you're subcontractors. I said it for your own good. We are competent people holding executive positions at major companies. People like us and subcontractors can't even have a proper conversation.
To my surprise, Emily claimed she was considering our feelings by telling us to leave. She declared this proudly and looked around the venue for agreement. By then, only our relatives remained, and even they were all frowning.
What? No one understands what I'm saying? I have reasons. There's a difference between elite people and subcontractors. We worked hard every day since we were kids to achieve our current positions. How can you not understand that?
I appreciate that you've worked hard, but everyone, in their own way, puts in effort throughout their lives. Emily frowned, clearly puzzled by my words. She couldn't accept the simple truth that everyone works hard. Her attitude implied that only elites weren't lazy, which made me sigh quietly. It was evident that Emily valued people only based on their status and education. Just as you, Emily, have valued education and worked hard, my dad, though uneducated, has worked diligently to bring joy to the locals through his business. As a result, our company has been loved by the community. involved in numerous projects, bringing smiles and gratitude from our customers.
That's not effort at all. Our company gives you the work. Your company thrives not because of your management efforts, but thanks to us.
Emily, as if her pride was wounded, raised her eyebrows. But then, Mike began to admonish her with a stern expression.
You really don't get it, do you? Yes, your company assigns the work. But without subcontractors to carry out the work, houses and buildings couldn't be built.
What?
It seemed like she had never considered this before. Emily looked dumbfounded as she glanced between Mike and us.
And if your perspective were correct, why did my colleagues and your company's colleagues leave the venue? If the main contractor is truly that superior, wouldn't they still be sitting here proudly?
That's...
Emily's eyes darted around nervously, and she finally shook her head in resignation. My dad spoke next.
You seem to think that those with higher education are superior and those without are inferior. But what have you been looking at while working?
Huh?
Emily could only mutter in response to his heavy words. As she stood speechless, my dad continued with a stern look.
Isn't what matters the substance of a person? What they actually do is important. That's why your company's people and our other clients agreed with me and left the venue.
What do you mean?
Emily truly didn't seem to understand the reason. Seeing her completely frozen, my dad continued to speak.
Many presidents of companies dealing with your firm, including myself, have risen based on our capabilities rather than our educational background. When you insulted my son and me, you were also insulting all these other business partners.
No way, I didn't know.
Emily, who had been furious moments ago, was now pale and trembling. It seemed she was deeply shocked by her exchange with my dad. Learning who my dad was and realizing she had insulted many business partners had hit her hard.
I really didn't know. Tom, Sam, you should have told me.
If you still don't understand after all this, there's nothing more to say. This conversation is over.
With that, my dad sighed and left the venue. As I tried to follow, Emily grabbed my arm, forcing me to stop.
What's going on? If you want me to apologize, I will. So please ask your dad to bring the other guests back.
I agree with my dad. Even now, with everyone gone, you still can't admit you were wrong, can you, Emily? Initially, she judged others based on their education and status. Then, when she realized my dad was someone important, she tried to suck up to him. And when that didn't work, she shifted the blame to us. Emily was like a big child throwing a tantrum. I'm sure you no longer want to do business with subcontractors you've looked down on so much. We'll be canceling the $500,000 contract we were about to finalize with your company.
What? A $500,000 contract? I didn't know it was such a big deal.
Both Mike and I were disappointed. The person in charge should have been her junior colleague. However, it seems she didn't even properly review the reports from them. Despite her personality, I had respected her work, so it was a disappointing realization. I thought we had a good relationship with your company for many years, so this is regrettable. We'll be leaving now.
Wait, if things stay like this, my reputation will be ruined. I absolutely don't want to lose my position as a department head over this.
Emily started stamping her feet, trying to stop me. Her attitude of only thinking about herself finally made me lose my patience. Could you put an end to this? I refuse to be dragged into your personal issues any further.
No, wait. Please wait.
Mike intervened, stopping Emily from clinging to me.
Stop embarrassing yourself. You're ruining our wedding.
Let go. If this continues, my career will be over.
Even at the end, all Emily could think about was her career and job. I decided to tell her my true feelings. The previous department head never looked down on any work and treated subcontractors as equals. That's why we had a good relationship with your company, but it's regrettable that it has come to this. With that, I followed my dad to the exit. Behind me, I could hear Emily and Mike arguing. After leaving with my dad, I heard rumors about what happened next. With nearly 300 guests gone, Emily continued her tirade.
I don't care if he's a local big shot, but a subcontractor is a subcontractor. Who does he think keeps his company running?
Having her values of education and status completely dismissed, Emily couldn't back down. But as a result, she not only lost the guests, but ironically, she also lost the trust of Mike, who was supposed to spend his life with her.
Even after all the explanations, you still don't get it. If I marry you, it will affect my work.
A subcontractor is a subcontractor. We can find another contractor. If anyone should be worried about cutting ties, it's them.
Even when Mike pointed it out, Emily's anger remained directed at us. Her stubbornness finally made Mike give up.
I never imagined you could be so disrespectful to business partners. I can't do this anymore. Our wedding is off.
What are you saying? Why are you calling off our wedding?
Even Emily was shocked and tearfully pleaded. But Mike was resolute and called off the wedding. No matter what she said, Mike insisted on calling off the wedding, which only made Emily explode in anger.
You're the one who invited those miserable subcontractors. Take responsibility for ruining our wedding.
You asked me to invite all the companies we do business with. You dumped all the wedding planning on me. And now you have the nerve to complain.
Emily had excused herself, claiming she was too busy with work, and left all the wedding arrangements to Mike. As a result, even subcontractors like us, who Emily wouldn't have invited herself, received invitations, leading to the chaos.
You kept saying you were busy to avoid preparations, but I had work too. You should be thanking me, not complaining.
I hate that petty side of you, blaming the wedding's failure on me. Are you trying to sabotage me?
Their argument escalated, and they divorced on the spot. Afterward, they were both escorted out of the wedding venue by their respective families, leaving in a fit of rage. But the real trouble came afterward. Mike sued Emily for the wedding costs and damages. Emily consulted a lawyer to countersue for damages, but her plan quickly fell apart.
Why am I being blamed? How can it be my fault that arguing with Tom led to the wedding being called off?
The lawyer told her she had no chance of winning, but Emily kept complaining incessantly. As a last resort, she was advised to apologize directly to Mike and negotiate to lower the compensation, but even then, Emily stuck to her own views.
I'm sorry. It was my fault, so please reconsider the compensation.
Can you tell me exactly what you did wrong and what you're apologizing for?
Just hearing this made Emily reach her breaking point and shout.
Here I am, apologizing sincerely. I came to apologize, so you should just forgive me.
Oh, you still can't see your own faults and are just pushing your opinions on others. That's what's wrong.
Thus, Emily shattered any remaining trust Mike had in her and had to accept the compensation demands.
I was right to call off our wedding.
Mike left with those parting words. Emily didn't try to stop him because her pride prevented her from facing her own faults. It's kind of sad that even after all that, Emily couldn't reflect on her actions. Emily, now burdened with substantial compensation, decided to regain the lost money through her work, boosting her determination. Her positive attitude was commendable, but her approach was problematic. Since she had invited many people from inside and outside the company to the wedding, everyone knew about her disparaging remarks and how she was universally disliked by subcontractors. Instead of building trust with business partners, Emily's condescending attitude caused one client after another to sever ties. Finally realizing the impact of her actions, Emily turned pale and frantically started contacting everyone.
Criticize me all you want, but please don't cut ties with our company.
We've heard enough about your behavior and treatment of partners. The contract is terminated.
Hearing this from several companies, Emily finally broke down in tears.
If our company loses business, it will affect your employees too. It will cause unnecessary trouble for them.
Don't worry. We'll deal with Tom directly, so our employees won't be affected.
After being retorted so easily, Emily finally collapsed to the floor. After that, contracts really started flooding into my company. Surprised by the non-stop phone calls, I asked the clients about the situation and learned about the interactions with Emily. Because of this, my company is busier than ever, and it's almost overwhelming. But with my dad's advice, we're managing to get the work done. Sometimes, we even reach out to rival companies to work together during busy times like this. Even though they are competitors, they are still part of the same construction industry. Rather than trying to monopolize the work and causing delays at construction sites, it's better to join forces and keep the industry moving smoothly. In the end, it benefits all of us. Emily would never make such a decision. Maybe it was because I muttered something like that. A few days later, an unexpected visitor came to my company. It was Emily, completely skinny and ragged.
Please, help me. If this continues, I'll be held responsible and lose my job. Please convince the clients to resume business with me.
Even in her desperation, Emily couldn't stop thinking about herself. No matter how much she suffered, she couldn't truly reflect on her actions. I shook my head slowly. Our company doesn't have that kind of influence. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Rejected outright, Emily stood there for a while. When she realized I wouldn't change my mind, she left unsteadily. After that, Emily's company lost one major client after another, and at one point, the company's management was in serious trouble, according to industry rumors. Emily herself was transferred to another department for losing many clients due to her actions. For a while, she continued doing paperwork in a windowless room, even though she had always been highly ambitious. Wanting to work in a place where she could better utilize her abilities, she eventually resigned on her own. Afterward, she continued to apply for jobs, but her reputation had already spread throughout the industry, and no one would hire her. After trying with many companies, she eventually found a job at a small company in a different field. However, in her new position, Emily is now being looked down upon by large client companies. She's experiencing the same kind of treatment she used to give us. I heard that she now lives with daily regret, facing harsh treatment as a subcontractor. I hope that in her new workplace, she can work with consideration for others. As for me, after Emily left, we resumed our dealings with the major company. The new representative is a reasonable person, making for a very pleasant business relationship. Emily's former company, after the incident, managed to revive its sales with the combined efforts of the remaining employees. However, it took 10 years to recover from the damages Emily had caused. Losing trust is quick, but rebuilding it is a monumental task. Thanks to this commotion, my company's performance also saw significant growth. Undoubtedly, my dad was a major factor in this success. He came out of retirement and returned to active duty during the incident. With a new branch, he leads the local employees as the chairman and branch manager, a lively title indeed.
I won't lose to the youngsters yet.
My dad smiled as he said this was the brightest I've ever seen. And the one who makes a great partner for my dad in business negotiations is Mike. After the breakup with Emily, he requested a transfer and is now thriving in a new place. Coincidentally, his new workplace is in the same area as my dad. They respect each other and have built a good relationship. As the company president, I have also hired new employees at the headquarters. This will expand our business even further. To make our new employees happy, I will continue to work hard as the president.